Hi, William Farmer, and this is episode 19. Can't believe it. And on this episode, we're going to look at Agile Mindset. Never before in the history of business have we all had to think about how to be more resilient and more agile. Sponsored by our High Impact Presentations program. That's a 2-day program. We video you at least 8 times in 2 days. That'll be on the 2nd and the 3rd of December. If you want to make an impact online, in person, to 1,000 people, 10,000 people, that's a program you should embark on. That's High Impact Presentations program run here in Brisbane, Australia. Thank you to my international listeners. We really appreciate you joining us. And I wish I could have a conversation with you. I know it's a bit one way in the car or wherever you get to listen to this particular podcast. Agile mindset, what does that really mean? It means not getting stuck in a rut. And it means learning to be a little bit more fluid or fluidity within the brain, within the mind. Because in this particular time, when we're starting to move out of the COVID-19, fingers crossed, I hope that's true, and we're now moving into what the new business reality will be, it has changed dramatically. It has changed in a lot of different ways. People have had to become more innovative. They've had to look at ways of getting through things more effectively. Give you a quick example. One of the things that we are now doing in our office is that we have all our meetings on Zoom or Teams online, which is not actually new to anybody who's listening to this podcast. But why is it so dramatic for us? Well, it would take around about at least 45 minutes for us to go and see a client, 45 minutes with the client, 45 minutes to get back to the office. And all of a sudden, that's like 2 or 3 hours wasted in regards to just making that quick engagement. Obviously, it's not wasted if it's a good client meeting, but now we can put in maybe 2 or 3 meetings in the same time that we used to do one meeting. Some of the other things that are happening in our office, which I'm sure is happening in your office, is that some of our staff are working from home, especially when it's around that thinking time where they need that concentration and they're able to actually have that relaxed atmosphere where they can actually do their best work. Now, what we have discovered though is people do like community. And so we are able in Brisbane, because we haven't been as effective as other states in Australia, have been able to communicate and connect in person as well. Now, why is an agile mindset so important? Because when the outside conditions, Brian Tracy, one of my competitors, but actually one of the people that I listened to when I was starting my business many years ago, and Brian Tracy talked about this. He said, when the outside conditions are moving faster than the inside, in other words, your professional, personal way of viewing those outside conditions, man, the end is near. And so we do, now look, at the end of the day, we have to have our own point of view to how we meet market conditions, personal conditions, professional conditions. Never underestimate your true intrinsic value. Your true intrinsic value is your free will, your ability, your gift that you've got, and then utilizing other people's gifts within a business. So never underestimate that. But my point is this: if we start to get stuck and we're moving slower and the outside conditions are moving faster, yeah, there's an issue, right? And look, I hire really bright people. In fact, big thank you to my producer over there, Jordan Dron. And Jordan is what I call a Gen Z generation. So she's under 25. And I really enjoy having a great engagement with her because she doesn't think the same way I think. And she's able to access from a social media point of view, from a technology point of view, things that I wouldn't have considered. And hopefully that symbiotic relationship where obviously I've been around a long period of time and seen a lot of these conditions just reshaped with a different face in business, and I'm able to bring some strategy or strategic value to that communication that we both have with each other. So I'm sure that's the same for you as a business or entrepreneur. You have the same sort of opportunity to forge relationships that can push you. One of the things that someone taught me very early on, in fact, I think I might have read it in a book, and it was never choose friends that think like you. Why? Because you know how you think, right? well, you should do. And so I've always chosen friends who are a little bit different to me. When I was back in Auckland, New Zealand, I used to create these fantastic events at our place. We had a massive property, and I would bring in maybe 100 or 200 of my business clients to those events. And it was an eclectic group. It was a group with lots of different color. I would have artists who were at the top of the game. I remember I had, you should check this guy out. And so Phil was a writer in music, and he's actually one of the top writers in music. And he would come in and play, and we'd have all these different type of people in business, large companies, small companies. And we would get them together and we'd get them to talk together because, I'm from Dale Carnegie and that's my job. My job is to get people to communicate. And one of the reasons why they loved it is because they would meet people they would never normally meet, and they would have an opportunity to have conversations from a different angle. But there was one thing that was intrinsic. Everybody that used to gravitate to these social gatherings that we would create, they were motivated. They were motivated to do something, connect or create. And when you've got that energy working, even though it might be different to the way you think, it can actually add to that agility. Agility is very, very, very important. So in my first podcast, you might want to check it out. We talked about blind spots. First of all, birds of a feather stick together. So strengthen common ground. So if you're going through a large change as a business, making sure that you have powerful common ground is absolutely essential. So the Gallup research, which obviously changes every year, especially after COVID, but I'll give you this data. Typically, when we're measuring engagement for best places to work, an engaged employee is 200 to 240% more effective, more productive than someone who's just taking a paycheck. In Australia at the moment, the stats are 33% of people that were surveyed love what they do. In other words, they're good at what they do, they love what they do, and they tend to be in that 200 to 240% more productive. So it's like having, 2.4 person, working for you. And I'm sure if you're a director of the organization, in other words, you've invested financially, emotionally, you'll probably be engaged just by osmosis because it's your ship and you're trying to run it effectively. But isn't it awesome to have people around you who are as engaged emotionally as you are? Now, that doesn't happen by accident. It actually happens by design. And that design is creating an empowered workforce. How do you get an empowered workforce? Well, first of all, people need to know what the goal of performance and productivity is. It needs to be quite clear. You need to have measurement processes that they know. Now, the best control system in management is self-control. So when people have a bit of an idea of what they need to hit, I was watching the league in the weekend, the grand final here in Brisbane. A try is worth 4 points, and if you kick it over, it's worth 2 points. So straight away, when we watch a grand final, we know exactly who's won, who's lost. Yet the two teams, the Rabbitohs and the Panthers, great rugby league teams, and we are there for the dance. We're there for the creativity in between those points. But at the end of the day, we know who's won based on who's got the most points. I don't measure every tackle, every breakaway. No, somebody probably in the stand is measuring those things so they can give feedback to their team. But as an observer, I just love the creativity. And that's what we want to be able to achieve in business as well. We've got to know what the line looks like. What's a win? What's a try? What's a conversion? What's that worth in my business? And when you get your team knowing those things, and then you start to empower them, you build strong common ground. That's the first part of agility, is learning to be agile enough to know that you're not the only person in the world who has to come up with the answer. In fact, it's better to get other people using their IP, their language, their motivation to be able to help your company grow and prosper and flourish. So that's the first thing. Next thing is facade. Now, when you've got an organization that has a lot of facade, where people are hiding their potential or hiding their anxiety or whatever it is, you're not going to be able to deal with some of those things that we are not able to see because people can't volunteer that information. It's like playing poker. Texas Hold'em is what I was trying to say. And, people are just standing off. And so you want to break that down through strong common ground. Now, blind spots. So one of the blind spots that can hold us back from being agile is thinking that we know. I know this. I've been around a long period of time. And so we've tried that, many years ago. So you may have. And, many years ago, it might not have worked. But because of the technology, because of the way we're now interfacing with each other, it might be the most brilliant, agile thought that your company could invest in right now. So you have to free your mind a little bit. And one of the things that can stop us is blind spots. And that can be biases. We all have them. It could be even prejudice that we might have based on past experience. And by the way, the stronger the anchor of pain, the more we might have those prejudices and hold on to them tightly. And that's where the common ground comes in, because you want input. You want even input that sucks. That's a really dumb idea. And it could be. It could be a dumb idea. But I tell you what, by opening it up, it allows maybe the best idea to come in. So when we do brainstorming in our leadership training for managers program, or LTR, which is leadership training for results, one of the key things we talk about is idea fluency. A silly idea might lead to that brilliant breakthrough idea. So you have to learn to just hold off from giving the answer immediately and allow those ideas to be fluent. So that could be, and other things behaviorally, we might have got lazy. I'm 50 something. I'm not going to give my exact age because I can still just give myself the illusion of being younger. So my point is this: as we start to get older, we do get lazier. We get lazy, especially if we're successful. We've got all the things telling us how wonderful we're doing. Maybe our bank account's nice and fat. Maybe we're able to take lots of holidays, all that sort of stuff. It's okay. Lazy people. In fact, this is someone told me in one of my early years that, give the job to someone who's lazy and intelligent, and they'll find the fastest way to get that job done. And I've never forgotten that advice, right? Sometimes the best thing we can do as directors is nothing. And I'm serious about that. Just allowing the brain and the mind just to imagine what is possible. So often we're so stuck in the doing process, we forget we're creative beings, and we need that time out just to, hang loose and just allow. And a lot of time we can solve our own problems. I'm also an executive coach, so sometimes we can ask a question that can stimulate the right response, or a response you never thought about, and that can trigger a new way of being. So agile, here's my advice. Agile, first of all, is learning to get collaboration, strong common ground. That removes any facade. And the next thing is, remember, as a leader, we all have our bias. We all have our blind spots. It's just an accumulation of time. And even if you're a young entrepreneur, young in years, young in enthusiasm, watch your bias. We're all programmed. Facebook just recently, I've just been watching my social media feed. They've been given a hard time, and they have to justify the algorithm. My point is that we all create an algorithm. We create an algorithm that suits our personality, suits our world. Watch that. Think about, is that algorithm working for me now? And it probably is. Or do I need to adjust that algorithm so that it brings in new information? And a lot of the time when you think about the individuals that you hire or that you bring into your field, or your friends or people in your social gathering, they all come with a little bit of an algorithm. Theirs, and hopefully something new that you can learn of. So building resilience. How do you build resilience? Well, first of all, resilience comes forged by pain. And pain is a great gift. Honestly, it really, really, really is. And we learn faster by pain than we do by pleasure. So resilience comes from learning to bear the pain, learn from it, and move forward. Agility is the ability to go, hey, tried that. What is next? By the way, don't get too concerned about failing. In fact, I don't believe in failure. I believe in lessons. And I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I learn by doing the same thing over and over and over again. So that means there's a loop program, and you sometimes just got to step off and go, what's really going on? Here's something else. I'd like you to be kind to yourself. This is an unprecedented time for all of us, and the rules are being made up at a super speed. So you have to just take a little bit of time off and go, you know what? Well done, still here, still in business, still enthusiastic. What can I do differently to meet those new market conditions so that the inside is moving at the same speed as the outside? And even if the outside starts to move faster than my inside, watch my team. I had a conversation with somebody just at a networking event recently, and he goes, 1 and 1, the power of 2. And I go, actually, if you really have highly functioning people and those two people are working together, I reckon it's the power of 10. Okay, 10 exit, as Grant Cardone, one of my coaches that I really respect. I'll get you to check him out. A fun guy, fun coach. So, hey, I hope that's been helpful as you drive. It's been sponsored by our high impact presentation program. My producer's saying, hey, William, you forgot the question. What's the question that we've got from the audience? Thank you, Jordan.
This is from one of our listeners, and they actually said, how can I develop resilience and agility when the way I've run my business in the past has been so successful?
Paradox of success. Look, congratulations, because success is a lot of different things. It's not just one thing. So congratulations for having that fantastic problem. And be aware of it. So awareness is absolutely key. You've heard me talk about it. If you're a follower of our podcast, 50 to 60% done deal. In other words, you're moving in the right direction. If you're aware of what needs to shift, be aware that you might be a fat cat. Congratulations, fat cat. Awesome. But also remember, there is some vulnerability in strength. And what is that vulnerability? Learn to be really brutally honest with yourself. And if you are in a stage where you're starting to go, you know what? I'm not that same hungry person that I used to be. I actually worked my butt off not to be, but then bring in other people that maybe have that touch of hunger in those areas that you need. Tell yourself the brutal truth, even when you don't want to hear it, even when you don't want to see it. And then when you see it and you hear it, you'll know what to do next. So, hey, hope you've enjoyed our session on agility and resilience, sponsored by our high impact presentations program, which is run on the 2nd and the 3rd of December here in sunny Brisbane. Enjoy your day. Make it a good day. It could be your last day. Make all days like your last day, because one day you'll be right. I'm William Farmer, Managing Director for Dale Carnegie Australia. This has been about the Agile Mind.